Good morning. If you don't mind, I'll just read a brief statement about an event that took place, which was concerning to us on Sunday morning, October 29th. While deployed in support of Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy aboard the HMCS Ottawa, Cyclone embarked and was conducting routine exercises in the South China Sea when it was intercepted by the People's Liberation Army J-11 fighter aircraft. And though the initial encounter was safe, two subsequent encounters between that aircraft and our Cyclone helicopter were deemed unsafe. With successive passes, one jet eventually conducted a pass over the Cyclone helicopter with little separation, causing the helicopter to experience significant turbulence and take appropriate actions in order to remain safe. And later that same day, during its second sortie, the same helicopter was once again intercepted by a J-11 fighter aircraft, which launched flares directly in front of our helicopter. The helicopter pilot had to maneuver to avoid the flares and reduce the risk of ingesting a flare into the helicopter's rotor and intakes. This encounter was also deemed unsafe. All of these interactions took place in an international airspace, well outside of any claimed territorial seas and associated airspace. These maneuvers put the safety of all personnel involved in unnecessary risk. Canada expects that any intercept of our aircraft will be conducted in a safe and professional manner. Canadian Forces members undergo extensive training before these missions. They're well prepared to deal with these events as they may occur, but all members of our air detachment and crew aboard the Ottawa remain safe. The helicopter was not damaged in these interactions, and the Ottawa and the embarked helicopter continued on the mission. As outlined in our Indo-Pacific strategy, we're going to continue to step up our forces in that region. As we are a Pacific nation ourselves, Canada will continue to stand up for the international rules-based order to maintain the safety of international navigation. And I'll now be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Has there been any diplomatic follow-up?
I'm sorry.
Has there been any diplomatic follow-up to this?
Yes, ma'am. What we do is through diplomatic channels, and the Canadian Armed Forces, through diplomatic channels, conveys our concern about these type of events to the People's Republic of China.
These things keep happening in this region. Why are we continuing to fly in these areas where we know that the Chinese are being aggressive?
We have a responsibility in that region, and just to be very clear, the HMCS Ottawa and our helicopter were in international waters. They were well outside of the territorial limits of both China or any other countries. This actually took place near the Paracels Islands. It is in international water. One of our responsibilities, working with our allies as part of the Indo-Pacific strategy, is to maintain freedom of navigation in international waterways. We were there doing our job, and it is routine that these interceptions will take place, but our expectation is that they will take place in a way which is both professional and safe. And unfortunately, what we've seen in the most recent incidents, on two occasions, the actions of the People's Republic fighter jet were deemed to be significantly unsafe, and we'll express our concern to the People's Republic of China about that. Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the evacuation from Gaza, can you confirm that the operation will occur on Sunday over the weekend, and that all Canadians will be able to get out from Gaza?
Well, I will tell you that certainly our Foreign Affairs Minister and I have had extensive discussions with our Israeli counterparts. We have certainly explained what we believe to be the urgent need to get the 450 some Canadians who have registered. That includes, by the way, permanent residents and their families that they have registered, and we are endeavoring to get them to safety and get them out of Gaza. We've been working very closely with the Israeli authorities. We anticipate that will take place in the next coming days, but I'm unable to give you with absolute precision the timelines for that, but we're working very hard on it, and we understand its importance and urgency for those people and for their families.
And what's the problem? What hasn't been done yet? Like, where are we still working on that operation?
Well, the actual movement of people through the Rafah border into Egypt is being closely coordinated with Egyptian authorities, and we have personnel, both our GAC and consular authorities, and they are assisted by the Canadian Armed Forces in Egypt. We're also working with international partners such as Qatar, and with who is negotiating with the authority that exists in Gaza, and we're also working with the Israelis. I believe the priority has been placed upon the evacuation of those who are wounded, and some of the smaller countries who had very few people in the area. But we have a fairly significant presence of Canadian citizens in Gaza, and our priority is to get them to safety.
But we're seeing Brits Brits get out. We're seeing other foreigners get out with large contingents now. What's the holdup been for Canadians? Is there anything specifically that you're hearing that...
There is no specific impediment with respect to Canadians. We're working very closely with all of the nations that I just spoke of. We also work very closely with our international allies, the Americans and the Brits in the region. We have placed a priority, and it has been acknowledged by the Israeli authorities. We're working very closely with them, and we hope to get Canadians to safety in the very near future.
Is it Hamas holding up the list at this point?
And again, I don't want to speculate on exactly what the challenges are. There are challenges. In that entire region, there's a humanitarian crisis taking place there as well. And we are also working very hard to get humanitarian aid into the region for people who desperately need it. But the repatriation of Canadian citizens in Gaza remains a priority for us. We'll continue to work with all of our allies and all the people that control that border to get to people to safety as quickly as possible.
Do we have the diplomatic relationships needed to get our people out, or are we relying on the Brits and the U.S. to make those connections on our behalf?
Our Foreign Affairs Minister has been in the region twice, and she's worked very extensively with all of the countries. I will tell her both she and I were on the phone very late last night talking to a number of people that we believe can facilitate the safe evacuation of Canadians from the Gaza region, and we're continuing to do that. We're not relying on anyone else to speak for us. Our Foreign Affairs Minister is speaking very well on behalf of Canada and Canadian interests.
Hezbollah is increasing its attacks on Israel. They haven't formally necessarily entered the war yet, but is that changing the government's posture on evacuation plans, implementing them sooner? Will the government evacuate Canadians?
I will say we are looking with some concern at the level of violence that's taking place on the border between Lebanon and Israel, and calibrating it very carefully. But we remain concerned. There are a significant number of Canadians in the region, particularly in Lebanon. We do have both consular officials and, at their request, support of the Canadian Armed Forces who are working in order to provide protection, first of all, to those consular officials and enforce protection, but also there's been extensive planning. Work that's gone on between Global Affairs, our allies and partners, with the support of the Canadian Armed Forces, to make sure that if that situation deteriorates in Lebanon and it becomes necessary to assist Canadians to get to safety, we'll be ready to do it.
Why don't we have those same people, CAF personnel and consular officials, at Rafah?
We do have consular officials in Egypt and support with Canadian officials, and we'll be there when Canadians come across that exit from Gaza. We'll be there to support them.
The message to Canadians has been, if you get across, make your way to Cairo. We have people there.
No, ma'am. We'll be there to assist the people. We'll be present, ready to assist people as they come out of Gaza. Thanks very much.